Welcome back. Take a deep breath wherever you are right now, whatever kind of day you are having. I am so glad you are here with us. This is your safe space, your quiet corner of the internet where there is no rush, no judgment, and no pressure to be anything other than who you are.
And if you are listening to this while drinking your morning coffee, commuting to work, doing the dishes, or just taking a walk, thank you for bringing us along with you. Honestly, knowing we are part of your routine means the world to us.
It really does. Before we jump in, Leo, how has your week been? You look like you've had a busy few days.
Is it that obvious? Yeah, it's been one of those weeks where my to-do list seems to grow every time I look at it. But sitting down here in front of the mic always feels like taking a deep breath out. It's my reset button.
I'm so glad. For everyone listening, I'm Mia.
And I'm Leo.
Today, Leo, we are talking about a topic that I think changes a lot as we get older, but never really leaves us. We are going to talk about dreams and goals.
Oh, wow. That is a heavy topic, but a really good one. You know, when we're kids, people always ask us, what is your dream? What do you want to be when you grow up? And we say crazy things. We say we want to be astronauts or actors or dinosaur researchers. I personally spent 3 years convinced I was going to be an underwater archaeologist.
An underwater archaeologist. That is amazing. Yes, exactly. We have no limits when we are young. The world feels completely open, like a giant blank canvas waiting for us to paint on it. But then something subtle happens when we become adults.
Yeah, people stop asking about our dreams. Instead, they start asking about our jobs. They ask how we're paying the rent, what our 401k looks like, or how long our commute is. Dreams suddenly feel like something childish, or like a luxury only people with tons of free time can afford.
Which is so sad, isn't it? Because adults need dreams just as much as children do, maybe even more. When life gets stressful, repetitive, or overwhelming, a dream is what keeps your spirit alive. A dream is the thing that gives you energy on a difficult Tuesday morning. It is the light at the end of the tunnel.
I guess without a dream, everyday life can start to feel like a hamster wheel. You're running really hard, but you're not actually going anywhere inspiring.
Exactly. It's easy to mistake activity for progress. You can be busy all day long and still feel completely stagnant inside because you aren't moving toward anything that fills your soul.
But a dream without a plan is just a wish, right? That's what people always say. And I've definitely had plenty of wishes that just evaporated into thin air because I had no idea what to do next.
Exactly. And that is why today we aren't just talking about dreaming. We are talking about how to bridge the gap between having a beautiful dream and setting the actual goals to get there. How to transform that abstract floating hope into something real that you can touch, build, and experience without losing your mind and without burning out.
I love this. If you are listening right now and you have a dream that you've been hiding in your heart, maybe learning a language, moving to a new city, switching careers, or starting a creative project, this episode is for you. Grab your cup of tea or coffee, get comfortable, and let's get into it.
Let's start by defining our terms, because people often use the words dream and goal as if they mean the exact same thing, but psychologically and practically they are very different. A dream is a vision. It is the destination, the feeling, the ultimate outcome you desire. A goal, on the other hand, is the map, the vehicle, and the fuel you use to get there.
Okay, can you give me an example of that? How do they actually look when you put them side by side?
Sure. Let's say your dream is to speak fluent English so you can travel the world with confidence, make friends everywhere you go, and feel like a true global citizen. That is a beautiful dream. It is full of emotion, mental imagery, and excitement.
It is. It sounds great. I want to jump on a plane right now just thinking about it.
Right? But speak fluent English is a terrible goal. If you put speak fluent English on your daily to-do list, your brain panics because it has no idea what action to take today at 9 a.m. It is too big. It is too vague. A goal needs to be specific and actionable. A goal is, I will learn 5 new vocabulary words every morning before breakfast. Or I will listen to 1 podcast episode every Tuesday and shadow the speakers for 10 minutes.
That's such an important distinction because when I just think I need to learn English, I sit down at my desk, look at a textbook, open 20 tabs on my browser, get overwhelmed, and end up watching funny cat videos for an hour instead.
That is the brain's natural defense mechanism. When an objective feels like an unscalable mountain, your mind seeks comfort in small, immediate rewards. Defining specific goals removes that friction.
Ah, I see. So the dream provides the emotional energy and motivation, but the goal provides the practical structure and direction.
Exactly. Think of the dream as the star in the sky that you steer your ship toward, and the goals as the oars you row every single day. If you only have a dream but no goals, you end up living in a fantasy. You just imagine the future, but you never actually take a concrete step toward it. Over time, that gap between imagination and reality leads to deep frustration and regret.
I have definitely been there. I remember I wanted to write a fantasy novel a few years ago. I spent hours dreaming about the cover of the book. I dreamed about holding it in my hands. I picked out the author font. I dreamed about what I would say in late-night talk show interviews.
You were already practicing your interview responses? And how many pages did you actually write, Leo?
Sigh. Zero. Absolutely zero. I had character maps and world-building notes on napkins, but I had exactly zero goals for my daily writing habits. I spent all my energy daydreaming about being an author instead of doing the actual work of writing sentences. I was living completely in the fantasy.
It is so common, Leo. Don't be hard on yourself. Daydreaming gives us a temporary rush of dopamine without requiring any of the hard labor. But the opposite state is also dangerous. If you only have goals but no underlying dream, you end up feeling empty, exhausted, and robotic.
Wait, really? How does that happen? I thought being hyper-focused on goals was the ultimate key to success.
Well, imagine someone who sets a strict goal to work 60 hours a week to save a specific amount of money. They check off their tasks every day, they hit every milestone on their spreadsheet, they achieve the goal. But somewhere along the line, they forgot to ask themselves why they wanted the money in the first place. They forgot the dream, which was perhaps freedom, security, or time with family. So they achieve the numeric goal, but they feel miserable, hollow, and burnt out because the soul was removed from the process.
Wow, that hits home. It's like building a fast car, driving as hard as you can, but forgetting where you were trying to go in the first place.
Beautifully put. You need both. The dream keeps your heart engaged, and the goals keep your feet moving.
That makes total sense. You need the dream to give the goals meaning and emotional resonance. Otherwise, you are just a machine completing tasks on a checklist without any real joy.
So, if we clearly know the difference between a dream and a goal, and we recognize that we need both, why is it still so hard to just start? Why do so many of us keep our most cherished dreams locked inside our heads forever, never taking that first step?
For me, fear. 100% fear. It's that voice that whispers right before you open a document or step into a class.
Fear of what, exactly? Break that down for us, Leo. What does that voice say?
It's the fear that the reality won't be as good as the dream. You see, when a dream is just inside my head, it is perfect, unblemished. My imaginary book is an instant bestseller. It has no plot holes or terrible dialogue. Everyone loves it. But the moment I sit down to write the first actual sentence, it becomes real. And real things are clumsy, imperfect, and messy.
Yes, the gap between your taste and your current capability. The radio host Ira Glass talks about this so brilliantly. When you start something creative or new, your taste is good enough to tell you that what you're producing isn't great yet. That is such a painful gap to sit in. When you start learning English, you can hear native speakers and appreciate rich expressions, but your own mouth won't make the sounds yet.
Exactly. It feels so embarrassing to be bad at something, especially when you're an adult who's used to being competent in other areas of life. So instead of starting and feeling silly, I tell myself a story. I say I will do it someday, when I have a full free weekend, when I get a faster computer, when life settles down.
Ah, the someday trap. Someday is the most dangerous word in the English language for anyone who wants to grow, because someday never actually arrives on a calendar.
The calendar only has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There is no day called someday. If you wait for life to calm down before pursuing a dream, you will wait forever, because life inherently expands to fill your time.
That is very true. I have checked my digital calendar repeatedly, and someday is definitely not listed between Thursday and Friday.
We hide behind perfectionism. We treat perfectionism as if it's a noble flaw. In job interviews, people brag, "Oh, my biggest weakness is that I'm just such a perfectionist." But in reality, perfectionism is rarely about high quality. Perfectionism is just fear wearing a nice suit and polished shoes. It is armor we wear to protect ourselves from judgment, failure, or exposure. It is an excuse to never put our work out into the world.
Fear wearing a nice suit. Oof, that is painfully accurate, Mia. I've spent months perfecting a cover letter or tweaking a project outline, telling myself I was polishing it, when really I was just terrified of hitting send.
We all do it. It's human nature to seek safety, but growth and safety cannot coexist in the exact same space.
So, how do we beat that fear? How do we take off that heavy armor and actually cross that intimidating gap between the perfect dream in our head and the messy reality in front of us?
By giving yourself explicit permission to be a beginner again, you have to lower the stakes. You have to be willing to write a terrible first draft. Novelists call it the city draft for a reason. Its only job is to exist, not to be good. You have to be willing to speak English with a heavy accent, search for words, and make silly grammar mistakes. You have to be brave enough to be awkward and clumsy at something for a little while so that you can earn the skill to become great at it later.
Okay, so how do we practically build that bridge once we finally decide to accept the messiness and start? The secret is a behavioral technique I like to call micro goals.
Micro goals, meaning goals that are very, very tiny, like microscopic?
Exactly. Almost ridiculously small. When we set goals, our ego gets heavily involved. We want to feel impressive and ambitious right out of the gate. So on January 1st or on a Monday morning, we declare, I am going to work out at the gym for 2 intense hours every single day. Or I am going to study English grammar for 3 hours every night after work.
I have made both of those exact promises to myself, usually with grand fanfare and a newly purchased notebook. And do you know how long they lasted? Exactly 3 days. By Thursday, I was exhausted, disappointed in myself, and eating ice cream on the couch.
Because those goals rely on motivation, and motivation is an unreliable emotional state. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. When you are tired after a long, stressful day at the office, the idea of studying for 3 hours feels like asking your brain to climb Mount Everest. Your brain naturally rebels, says no way, and you end up watching TV while feeling guilty.
That cycle of high ambition followed by immediate failure is so discouraging. So what is the alternative? How do micro goals break that cycle?
You shrink the commitment until your brain doesn't feel threatened. Make the goal so small that it feels stupidly easy. Make it something so minimal that you would feel silly saying no to it. The goal is to eliminate friction entirely.
Give me a concrete example. How small are we talking here? Give me a real-life comparison.
Think about this. If your ultimate dream is to read 30 classic books this year, your micro goal is not read 1 chapter every night. Your micro goal is read 1 single page. Or even simpler, open the book and read 1 sentence. If your goal is fitness, your micro goal is put on your running shoes. That's it.
Put on my running shoes? Just tie the laces? That's the whole goal?
Yes, because the hardest part of any habit is not the execution, it is the transition. It is overcoming the psychological inertia between doing nothing and starting. Once you put on your running shoes and step outside, you will almost certainly walk down the block or jog a bit. Once you open the book and read 1 line, momentum usually carries you through 3 pages. But your only contractual obligation to yourself was the tiny micro step.
That's genius, because it tricks your brain into starting before your inner laziness can mount an argument against it.
Precisely. You bypass the brain's alarm system.
I love that. It takes away all the emotional weight and pressure. If my daily goal is just to study one single English vocabulary word, I can easily accomplish that. I can do that while waiting for my coffee to brew or while standing in line at the grocery store.
Exactly. Consistency will always beat intensity over a long enough timeline. Doing something tiny every single day rewires your neural pathways and builds an identity habit. Doing something massive once a month, burning out, and quitting for 6 weeks builds nothing but self-doubt and physical exhaustion. But we have to talk about the inevitable hard part. Because setting goals is fun and inspiring. Hitting milestones feels amazing. But what happens when you bump into a wall? What happens when you fail? What happens when you try your absolute best, give it your all, and the result is still a disappointment?
Oh man, this is the part that stings so badly. When you actually put your heart out there, prepare, practice, try your hardest, and you still miss the target completely, it leaves you feeling exposed. It makes you want to crawl under a blanket and quit forever.
It really does, Leo. And the reason it hurts so much is that society conditions us from a young age to believe that failure is the shameful opposite of success. We treat success and failure like two opposite doors at the end of a hallway. But in reality, failure isn't a separate door. Failure is just a milestone on the exact same road to success. Failure is simply data.
Data? What do you mean by that? How can a painful rejection or a failed test be data?
Think about scientific research. When a scientist conducts a laboratory experiment and the chemical reaction doesn't yield the result they predicted, they don't throw a dramatic tantrum, sit on the floor, cry, and declare, "I am a terrible human being and science is a lie."
That would be a very dramatic lab environment. My hypothesis was wrong. My life is ruined.
Exactly. No, they pull out their clipboard, make a note, and say, "Fascinating. That specific combination under these conditions produced an unexpected result. Now I know one variable that doesn't work. Let me adjust the temperature, modify the ratio, and run trial number 2. They don't attach their personal self-worth to the outcome. It is simply objective information.
So when I set a goal to pass an English proficiency exam or get a job promotion and I get a rejection letter, I shouldn't take it as a personal verdict on my character or intelligence. I should look at it like a neutral scientist analyzing a laboratory test.
Exactly. You step back emotionally and ask useful questions. What is this result telling me? Did I misjudge the time needed? Did I study at late hours when my brain was exhausted? Did I focus too much on grammar rules and not enough on active speaking practice? You collect the data, recalibrate your strategy, adjust your daily micro goals, and run the experiment again.
That fundamentally changes the whole emotional landscape, because usually when I fail at something, I immediately make it about my identity. I don't say my study plan was flawed. I internalize it and think, I am not smart enough for this. I am a failure.
And that is the most damaging trap of all, Leo. Conflating a failed attempt with a failed identity. You are a complex human being, not a single outcome. You are allowed to make mistakes, stumble, and get things wrong. The path toward any meaningful dream is never a smooth, straight highway. It is a winding, bumpy mountain trail full of unexpected detours, muddy patches, and dead ends. Bumping into a dead end doesn't mean you turn around and go home. It just means you turn left.
I love that mindset shift. So if you're listening to this right now and you recently fell off your habit schedule, failed an interview, or didn't hit a goal you set, congratulations. You didn't ruin your life. You just collected some valuable data. Dust yourself off, adjust your formula, and keep moving forward.
There is another silent, subtle danger when we talk about setting and pursuing goals. Sometimes the problem isn't that we are failing at our goals. Sometimes the deeper problem is that we are succeeding, but at the wrong goals. We are exhausting ourselves chasing borrowed dreams.
Borrowed dreams? What do you mean by that? Like taking someone else's goal and trying to wear it like a coat that doesn't fit?
That is a great visual. Yes, so many of us spend our 20s, 30s, and sometimes our entire lives working relentlessly towards milestones that society, culture, or social media told us we ought to want, or goals that our parents subtly projected onto us when we were younger.
Oh man, I feel this deep in my bones. When I went to university, I chose to study business administration. I didn't care about corporate business structure at all. Zero interest. I actually spent all my free time doing graphic design, editing videos for friends, and writing blogs. But business sounded respectable. It sounded like what a sensible, mature adult was supposed to do.
And how did that feel during those years, Leo? Chasing an impressive goal that wasn't authentically yours.
It felt agonizingly heavy. Even when I studied hard and got good grades on exams, I didn't feel genuine pride or joy. I just felt relief that I hadn't failed publicly. There was no real light inside the achievement. It was like climbing a long, steep ladder, working up a massive sweat, reaching the top and realizing my ladder was leaning against the completely wrong wall. I was high up, but in a place I didn't even want to be.
Climbing a ladder leaning against the wrong wall. That is such a vivid and powerful metaphor, Leo. It's so easy to get brainwashed by external noise, by Instagram feeds showing luxury travel, high corporate titles, or fancy possessions, and adopt those as our personal goals. But you have to periodically step back, turn off the notifications, sit in quiet solitude, and ask yourself, do I genuinely desire this outcome? Will this bring peace to my life? Or do I just want other people to admire and be impressed by me?
That is an intensely scary question to ask yourself honestly, because if the answer is, I don't actually want this, it might require you to make drastic changes, to leave a job, step out of a degree program, or disappoint someone's expectations.
It is terrifying, yes, but it takes profound courage to audit your own life and change your mind. It is perfectly okay to walk away from a path you have invested years into if you realize it no longer aligns with your core values. You are not obligated to be the same person you were 5 years ago, or even 5 minutes ago. You are allowed to outgrow your old dreams and discard borrowed ones.
Sunk cost fallacy, right? Just because you spent a long time making a mistake doesn't mean you have to keep making it.
Exactly. Honor the past for the lessons it gave you, then give yourself permission to step onto a fresh path.
That is so liberating to hear. Giving yourself permission to redefine what success looks like on your own personal terms, rather than society's scorecard.
It's time for our favorite segment, Honest Talk. We share a lot of structured advice, theories, and vocabulary on this podcast, but we never want to sound like distant experts who have everything figured out. We are human beings navigating life right alongside you, bumping into the exact same obstacles. Leo, let's pull back the curtain. What is a personal goal you are currently struggling with right now?
Honest talk time. Okay. Full transparency, right now I am really struggling with my physical fitness goals. I have a long-term dream of feeling strong, energetic, and having good stamina for long hikes. But a month ago, I set a goal to go to the gym for intense workouts 5 days a week. And honestly, life got chaotic with recording schedules, I got tired, and I have missed almost 2 full weeks in a row.
And how is your mind processing that pause? What is the internal monologue in your head saying right now?
Oh, it's been ruthless. I fell straight into that toxic all-or-nothing trap. Because I couldn't hit my ambitious 5-day target, my brain threw its hands up and said, well, the whole month is ruined now. You broke the streak. So you might as well eat takeout and stay on the couch until next month. Which is completely irrational when you say it out loud, but feels so compelling in the moment.
It is such a common human reaction, Leo. We love clean slates and unbroken streaks, so the moment a streak breaks, we feel like burning down the whole garden. But using the exact principles we've discussed today, how can you look at those past 2 weeks as neutral data rather than self-judgment? What is your micro goal for tomorrow morning?
Okay, applying the data approach, my micro goal for tomorrow is to completely take off the pressure of going to the gym. I won't force myself to pack a bag or drive anywhere. My micro goal is simply to spread out my yoga mat and stretch on my living room floor for 5 minutes right before I drink my morning coffee. That's it. 5 minutes of movement.
I love that so much, Leo. That is gentle, achievable, and realistic. It breaks the paralysis and rebuilds self-trust through a small promise kept.
Now I have to turn the mirror back on you. What about you, Mia? What goal or dream are you currently wrestling with behind the scenes?
Honestly, growing this podcast. My overarching dream is to reach English learners all across the world, create a comforting space, and build a truly supportive community. But the technical, operational reality, editing audio files, writing scripts, managing upload schedules, and social media outreach, it can get overwhelming. Sometimes I look at huge media channels with massive teams, and I fall right into that comparison trap we talked about earlier. I think, our growth feels so slow. Am I doing enough?
Comparison. It's so easy to compare your behind-the-scenes Chapter 2 to someone else's polished highlight reel Chapter 20.
Exactly. So my personal mental adjustment right now is releasing focus on outcomes I can't control, like download metrics or algorithm trends, and redirecting 100% of my focus onto the immediate process. My daily goal is simply to ensure that every single time we press record, we bring absolute warmth, honesty, and value to you, the listener. I can't control algorithms, but I can control the heart and care we put into this microphone.
And that genuine heart is exactly why our listeners tune in every single week, because we keep it real, keep it practical, and walk the talk together.
Amen. And that brings us to our final segment, our vocabulary tour. This is where we extract and break down some of the most useful key vocabulary words and phrases we use throughout today's episode, so you can integrate them directly into your own English conversations.
Pull out your study notebooks or open your notes app. What is our very first featured word, Mia?
Word number 1 is vague, spelled V-A-G-U-E. It is an adjective that describes something that is unclear, indefinite, or lacking specific detail.
Example, saying I want to be successful is a vague goal. To make progress, you need to define exactly what success looks like to you.
Word number 2 is microgoal, a noun referring to an extremely small, manageable action step designed to build momentum toward a larger objective.
Example, instead of trying to write a whole chapter tonight, my micro goal is just to write 2 sentences before going to bed.
Word number 3 is perfectionism, a noun describing the refusal to accept any standard short of flawless performance, often driven by fear of criticism.
Example, her perfectionism held her back from publishing her artwork because she spent months tweaking minor details no one else would notice.
Word number 4 is setback, a noun meaning an unexpected problem, obstacle, or delay that temporarily halts your forward progress.
Example, losing that client was a temporary setback, but the team used the experience as data to refine their pitch.
And our 5th and final key term is burnout, a noun describing a severe physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged, unmanaged stress or overwork.
Example, if you try to study for 6 hours every single night without taking breaks, you will quickly experience burnout.
Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us today on this vocabulary tour. Remember, your dreams are worth caring for, and you possess everything you need to break them down into simple daily micro goals. Start small. Be patient with yourself. Just start today.
If this conversation resonated with you, please hit the subscribe button on the World English Podcast. Leave us a review and share this episode with a friend or study partner who might need some encouragement today. We love building this incredible global community together with you.
Be kind and gentle with yourselves this week. We will see you right back here in the next episode. Take good care.
Bye, everyone.